this is what he's saying right now. I apologize to Congress. I apologize to the country. I apologize to my family. And he's nodding his head slightly. He's also just talking about the repayments he made to the government. His testimony, his owning up to the payments to the two women. Cohen says he apologized to the American public, quote, for lying to them, for acting in a way that suppressed information that the citizenry had a right to know in order to make a determination on the individual who was seeking the highest office in the land. Asked what it was like testifying publicly, Cohen says, horrible. And that's how he felt. Laney Davis?
Yes, and I sat behind him and was worried about him getting angry. But I just want to share one other thing, not asking for sympathy from some of the justifiable critics here. When I had to make the decision to represent Michael and to take him public, I needed to believe he was ready to own what he did. Because I'd seen the Michael Cohen for 10 years that I didn't like very much, attacking everyone, defending Donald Trump. And so over a period of time, and it was Elijah Cummings that ultimately helped me decide that he was believable in his contrition. It took a former minister in a black church, Elijah Cummings, to say, when a sinner asks for redemption, I have to be sure the sinner feels it. Mm-hmm. And so it was a process for me as well, as you're seeing Michael recount.
And Cohen says he also met several times with special counsel Robert Mueller's office before reporting to prison. He first met with the special counsel's office in 2018 before he pleaded guilty, Laura Coates. A lot of golden oldies going back here, the Robert Mueller investigation and Russia. Laura?
Oh, absolutely. And he also went on to say that he was not truthful to the special counsel, quote, because I was still holding on to loyalty to President Trump. I'm back with Paula and Kristen. This is so significant because the way they were going to front the issues about his guilty convictions, his pleas, was going to be so important. Would they try to humanize him? Would he take ownership and accountability? How would they front it? Would it be in a way that was sympathetic to the jurors to suggest, hey, this is the end of the rope, the end of the line. He had been cast aside. He was the pariah. And now he's apologizing to his family and the American public. And that point I want to go back to, and he said that he was pleading not guilty. After pleading guilty, he says he then gave truthful testimony in subsequent with Mueller's team. But here's a line I want to go back to. He said he apologized to the American public, quote, for lying to them, Paula, for acting in a way that suppressed information that the citizenry had a right to know in order to make a determination on the individual who's seeking the highest office in the land. That's a way of getting to the motive as to why they tried to hide the payment.
He has a lot to explain because, of course, they had to get out in front of the criminal pleas for lying. But we've learned about a lot of other lies, too, right? The lies he told about Stormy Daniels, the lies that he told to the FEC, omissions in terms of what he shared with his wife, now lying to the special counsel, eventually telling them the truth. I think what the jury has to reconcile is if you'll lie to Congress, if you'll lie to the American people previously, if you'll lie to the IRS, why should I believe right now that you're not lying to me? It's not a one-off. It's not a one or two things. It is a pattern of being dishonest. And now prosecutors need to convince the jury how he has turned it around while simultaneously launching unrelenting attacks on the defendant. I think right now this is going to be the most challenging thing for prosecutors, is to bring this home and account for all the other problems.
It's an important point. And of course, it could very well be that they're saying, look, I'm done lying. That's why he's now gone on the offense against Trump. How the jury interprets it is a good question. I want to talk both sides of this argument, the prosecution and, of course, the defense. And back with me are Anna Kaminsky. She's director of Criminal Defense Clinic at New York Law School. Also, Adam Kaufman's here, former executive assistant DA for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Really important. Adam, let me bring you in here because I do wonder, do you find it problematic that they are going through the things they had to front? I mean, they had to get to these issues of his honesty or dishonesty. How are they doing at presenting and framing this to the jury?
Thanks, Laura. It's so hard to get the feel of the courtroom when you're not in there. And this really is, I mean, you can read the record, and the record says whatever the words are that are being uttered from the witness stand. But a record doesn't show eye contact, it doesn't show fidgeting, it doesn't show body language, it doesn't show how the jurors are reacting to this. All of that is happening within the courtroom. The jurors, I've found in some cases, jurors believe in a tale of redemption, that someone who did these wrongs in the past, that lied and lied and lied again, but who, pled guilty, owned up to his crimes, and paid whatever the penalty was, that jurors will respect that and see that as a sort of redemption tale, and they may credit that testimony. So I think this could go any way.
One second. I want to get back to that point. Excuse me. I hear you. I want to get back to one point. I'm going to keep interrupting you for a second because I want to give the audience a chance to know what's on the screen, and I'll come right back to your point. We're seeing Alina Habba handed a note from the gallery to another lawyer, who then gave it to Necklace, defense counsel, who then passed it to Beauvais, who then handed the note to Blanche. And so you mentioned what the jury is looking at and how they are receiving information. They also are likely seeing this chain of events that are going on, and they are trying to get the words. The person, of course, is going to cross-examine Michael Cohen, who is Todd Blanche. Go ahead.
No, I mean that's it. The jury, if you've got a jury consultant there, they're focused exclusively on the jury, and there may be one juror who reacted in a visible way to something that was said on the stand, and you want to capture that and take note of it and try to sort of capitalize on whatever, if you're the defense, on whatever that juror or those jurors reacted to, because as we've said, you only need one to hang a jury.
An important point, and I'll continue to, unfortunately, have to interrupt both of you. Anna, I want to come to you on this because as we're watching all of this unfold before the jury, we knew they had to take the sting out of the fact that this is somebody who they don't want, if you're the defense, they don't want the jurors to believe. You also have Hoffinger, who is the prosecutor direct examining Michael Cohen, asking Cohen about being sent back to prison after he was not happy with the terms of his monitoring. So they're going through methodically all of this. For many people, Anna, they may have thought they're going to have to just address the bias, that he doesn't like Trump. Remember, Necklace at one point in cross-examining Stormy Daniels said, let me get this straight, you hate Donald Trump. That's not the full story here. Going through the why, the iterations, the change in his standing with Trump is part of the story they're trying to weave.
Yeah, I mean, what struck me is the order in which the prosecution has decided to deal with Cohen's story, and that's really important. One of the things that we do as trial lawyers is we don't just think about, what witnesses are we going to call, what evidence do we want to introduce, but once we decide that there's a witness we want to call, we have to think about how do we want that witness to tell their story in a way that's going to be most believable, most credible to the jury. And you've been talking about it all morning. Cohen has a lot of issues, right? He's got a lot of credibility issues. And I think what's really interesting is they decided
and Anna,
to
excuse
tell
me,
this
we're also hearing
chronologically.
right now, excuse me, Anna, we're also hearing for a second, just talking about the idea of what the jury is hearing. They're hearing Michael Cohen was sent back to solitary confinement. Now, this might be a very important moment in terms of not just trying to humanize, but in particular, to get across to the jury what his experience was in prison, what his experience was in jail. And also he's explaining that in addition to talking to the special counsel's office, he talked to also the local prosecutors, the DA's office for the first time while he was still incarcerated. The jury is hearing, remember, it's the DA's office that is actually bringing the case, albeit a different head of that office now in Alvin Bragg, no longer Cy Vance. How might that be playing? Oh, also, excuse me, he also has said before the grand jury in this case, and the jury is hearing that he also got immunity. Excuse me, go ahead.
Right. I mean, it's interesting to me because I will also say, as we think about how's the jury perceiving this, I am also wondering why some of this is actually relevant to him, relevant to his credibility. I mean, you have to wonder, why does it matter for this case having to do with falsifying business records that he went to solitary confinement? Obviously, it's understandable all of the things, right? His guilty plea, his sentence, those are all relevant to his credibility. But it's interesting some of the facts that the prosecutor's bringing out, and based on what we're hearing, I'm of course not there right now to see, but it appears to be that there's not any objections to some of this. So it's interesting to me how the defense has decided to let some of this story come out. That's really been interesting to me as well. And when you talk about the jury's perception, one thing that I think has been really interesting about the defense's approach to Cohen's testimony so far is they have had very few objections. And I think the idea there is to show the jury, there is nothing about this guy that we are looking to hide from you. We want you to hear everything he has to say because all of it is incredible. It's not believable. And we'll have our chance, but you can go ahead and listen to his story right now.